Hey there, it's Steven here yet again on the YouTube channel. Have another guest, and as you folks know, I never do introductions myself. My guests will introduce themselves and tell us who they are and what they do. So go ahead.
How's it going, guys? My name's Chad, and I am a real estate investor. So flip houses, buy houses, and fix them up and resell them. Based here in Weber County, mostly buying in Weber and Davis County, Tooele County, Cache County, some Salt Lake and Utah County. I've been doing it since 2019 and been a ride.
You talked about real estate investing. So what all do you do in that space? Because real estate investing is a huge word. So what exactly do you do in that space?
My primary focus is fix and flip and wholesale. But, I'm in the space of landlord, Airbnb operator.
I think there's a lot of opportunity in the fix and flip. I mean, especially since COVID, there's a mindset amongst the general populace, especially sellers that sell as is, sell as is. But some people aren't willing to admit that selling as is really has hurt the value of their home. Maybe you can talk about some of the stuff you see in some of these fix and flips and like a little bit of what you're looking for. What's the difference between buying a home to fix and flip it versus, oh, this home just hasn't been updated since 1995? I think there is a little bit of a difference.
Yeah, I think so too. The market for us it's pivoted a little bit just because, with the interest rates being high, it's a lot harder. Affordability is a big deal right now. So I would say 90% of the time we'd buy a house and depending on the condition, bare minimum, we'd remodel the kitchen, the bathrooms, and then do like carpet, paint, and light fixtures. If the house was built in the 90s, we could probably get away with just like painting the cabinets and changing the hardware and maybe throwing on some quartz countertops. So we wouldn't have to gut it and do all new cabinets and stuff, which would save a little bit of money. But now we've pivoted slightly. We're not doing, for example, during, when the real estate market was really hot and interest rates were low and you're getting multiple offers on houses, we were doing, $80,000 remodels, sometimes $100,000 remodel, just completely gutting the house and starting over and making it brand new. Cause that's what people wanted, cause they could afford it because they're getting, 2.5, 3% loans. But now what we're finding is that buyers would rather have it less expensive than a brand new kitchen. And then they can come in and do a little sweat equity themselves. It's kind of switched.
Yeah, I'm curious. So some people, when it comes to, buying a home, you like for cash and then you're gonna fix and flip it, they always think they're gonna get the basically retail value of it. But I
Mhm.
think people tend to forget that with investing, it's going to be bought at a discount because you're giving them the convenience of a quick cash close. You're giving them the convenience of not having to do those updates. Maybe talk a little bit about that because again, it's one of those things I've run into where it's like, well, I just want a cash offer. And it's like, well, it's not going to be for the 500,000 it appraised for. And that's not because we're trying to screw you, but we're not a charity.
Right.
It really is a business.
I would say, the advantages of selling to a cash buyer like us, like you said, the cash offer, it comes quick and it comes convenient. So even if they're looking for that as is price, selling to an investor like me, even if they sell it for that appraised price, they're still going to have commissions and then they're going to get negotiated some repairs and some closing costs from their buyer. So they're not netting the retail value as it is. So we just kind of explain that to them and say, hey, here's what you're going to get and here's what I need to make. Is it worth it or not? It's like if I take on the risk to buy the house, give you cash, then I take on the risk of holding it in this market, that is volatile somewhat. I mean, we just don't know day to day what it's going to be. So I'm taking the risk of that. I'm going to hold it for 4, 5, 6 months, put some money into it. And then I'm going to be the guy that lets it sit on the market for 2 or 3 months looking for a buyer, and things just aren't selling as quick as they used to. So there's some negotiating power then, and it's just a matter of what is important to the seller. If time is on their side, probably not the best option to go with a buyer like me. But if they, for any reason, need some security, when is this thing going to close? When am I going to get my money? And they're willing, they have some equity, which I read something the other day and like everybody in the country has like 30% equity right now, something like that. Everyone has a lot of equity. I can't remember the percentage, but my point is, yeah, most people have equity so they can budge a little bit. And, I'm a guy for convenience. I like to DoorDash. I like to do, I order all my groceries delivery. So I pay for convenience, and a lot of people are like that and it's important. And so no different with the house transaction.
I had a conversation recently where people were talking about, oh, well, to pay for, they're talking about my commission, my blood, sweat, and tears and all this. But it's just like, well, you bought this house for $240,000. This house is now worth right at 1 million. You didn't put all that into it. The market really has just given you this benefit of having all this built in wealth. And with that equity, there's a lot of options, I think, and flexibility for them, and it's just, yeah, you have to choose how you're going to work with your investment. What do you think about sub two? Because that's like the big hot thing people are talking about in the real estate investing space.
Yeah, I love it. I mean, I think there's a ton of value there because, again, going back to the studies, everyone in America right now, the majority of people in America have interest rates below 5% because when the rates were low, if you didn't refinance, the question is why the heck not? Because everyone refinanced to get that 3, 4, 2.5% sometimes. So that's the value there, And for an investor like myself, if I can take a house sub two, meaning I just take over their existing mortgage and then maybe cut them a check at closing for some of their equity, then I can pay a lot more for that house because the value to me is that lower interest rate. So to build my wealth long term, I now own this house. Yeah, I might have paid retail or close to retail, which isn't common for a real estate investor, but what I'm buying is that rate. And I know that in 5 years, that house is going to appreciate and that rate's locked in for 30 or 25 or however long is left on the note. It's just a smart investment on my part. Everyone loves sub two. And the reason you're hearing it's such a buzzword right now, seller finance sub two, is because all the gurus online are pushing it to people who are trying to get into the real estate investing space because that's the value here, because it's hard to sell. And so it's just a lot harder to get into this space than it used to be. And so these creative deals where they're pitching you can create a deal out of nothing. Yeah, I mean, it sounds awesome, but you still have all the same challenges. Does it work for the seller? Most importantly, what are they doing with their next step? Can they even let you take over their mortgage? Like, there's just a lot of things that they don't really teach you about. And then how do you secure the seller? How do you secure yourself? So there's a lot of things like that. But personally, if I can get a sub two deal that makes sense, even if it doesn't cash flow a lot, I'll probably still take the deal just because the interest rate. And I know over time, my net worth is growing, my wealth is building, and that cash flow is going to increase as the rents go up and then the value of the property goes up. So it gives
Yeah.
a big advantage.
It's funny, there's flexibility within real estate investing that if I do stuff, where it's solely MLS as an agent, there isn't as much flexibility. And I still
Mhm.
always have to disclose I'm a broker and agent, even if it was just an investor deal, but it's interesting. There's more freedom on the investing side.
One of the other things I was going to mention too about the beauty of a sub two deal, and I'm sure you've addressed it on your YouTube channel, like what sub two even is and what seller finance is. But for me as an investor, you know, if I'm flipping 4 or 5 houses at a time, there's not a lot of real estate investors that I know that have that kind of capital just liquid, unless you're Donald Trump or something and you have endless amounts of cash. We're using other people's money, right? And what that means is we pay a pretty high percentage interest rate to use their money to flip this house. So we're paying, 12, 15% interest over 6 months to flip this house. Where if we can get it sub two, even if it's not long term, like we're taking over the mortgage forever, if we can just negotiate with the seller, hey, let me keep your mortgage in place for 8 months, I'll make the payment, and then at the end of 8 months, I'll pay it off. That gives them an advantage because they're not waiting as long to have that mortgage out of there, paid off. It gives me an advantage because now instead of paying 15% to flip the house, I might be paying 4 or 5. So it's just, there's a huge advantage there because that will decrease my holding costs, which means my profits will increase. But most of the time, what it means is I can pay more. So my profits don't increase, but the seller gets more money just for letting me keep their mortgage in place. So that's another benefit.
What's your favorite type of deal to get? Like, I mean, if you had a choice on the type of home to buy and flip, like what is it that you're looking for? 'Cause I know you mentioned like you wouldn't do something above 550, for example.
Oh,
Tell me what that golden mean is for you.
It's changed, but, like I said, it's evolved. Right now, I have to be very selective and I have to be very conservative, because things have changed. And my bread and butter right now, what I love is like downtown Ogden, baby. Like, give me those houses in the avenues of Ogden that I can pick up, remodel them. What I'm doing is I'm improving the neighborhood. I'm taking this
Mhm.
drug house, turning it into a really nice house, putting a good family in there, and I'm selling a house to somebody that they can actually afford because it's like 350,000. So those are the houses that I love. Distressed properties in Ogden, they come with their own challenges because, we get squatters in Ogden. We get people breaking into the house and moving in while we're remodeling it. We get stolen tools and stolen supplies. But Ogden, I think, has done a really good job. Even the new mayor of Ogden, he was at a meeting, a real estate meetup that I go to a few weeks ago, and they have a huge emphasis on kind of changing the perspective of Ogden overall. And even you've seen if you go through some of the rougher neighborhoods, they're building brand new houses and they're giving investors like me city tax benefits to go in there and improve these houses and improve the neighborhoods just to kind of elevate it a little bit. And to be honest, I mean, I love Ogden. I think there's a lot of charm there. It's old, it's historic. You got these cute little bungalows above Harrison, whole different ball game, because it's the same house, but it's above Harrison, so it demands, 30% more, which is weird to me, but I get it, But yeah, my bread and butter right now is give me like the old area of Clinton, Clearfield. I like that. Layton, the old Layton, because you got the real expensive Layton. So I like the right now I'm looking for those probably 1960, 1970 builds. Bread and butter would be like 4 beds, 2 bath. What I live for is if I can get 2 bathrooms on the top level, if I can get 3 bedrooms, 2 baths on the main level, and then like 2 bedrooms and a bathroom in the basement, and give me a 2-car garage or even a 1 car, I'm in heaven. That house, I know that house is gonna be super desirable. It's gonna be easy to sell. And if I buy it in those neighborhoods that I talk about, it's gonna be inexpensive.
Yeah,
So it's low risk for an investor, you
it's
know?
true. I keep telling the first time homebuyer people, they're looking at like parts of Salt Lake, but they're like, "Oh, I can live anywhere." I'm like, "You got to get to North Davis County or Weber County if you're a first time home buyer. You really do."
You do.
You
Even
know,
Valley, Taylorsville, even Kearns, Magna, I mean, it's getting everything's expensive.
Oh, I mean, we had one in the fall that was a flip and, it sold for 600,000 in this part of West Valley. It's just shocking,
I know.
just shocking.
Well,
And even South Davis County is kinda like that. Like, you're not gonna find that many deals in Bountiful or
heck
Farmington,
no.
Hayesville.
No way.
Honestly, I don't particularly care to work in those areas anyways, even on the listing
I
side.
don't
It's a
need
separate
yeah.
conversation.
Yeah, no, I don't either, and when I build my marketing list, I get specific on what neighborhoods I like. I don't even market to above Harrison because it's a
Yeah.
certain demographic that can go up there and live, but I just don't play in that area because it's just not my thing. I like the first home buyers, and I like providing a good product for people that is affordable, and so it's
Yeah.
cool.
No, it's what you described is a very smart strategy. It's a
Yeah.
very accurate strategy. Before we wrap up, I was curious if you wanted to share anything. And of course, whatever you share, also tell us where we can find you online, how to contact you. But if you had any closing thoughts before you shared your contact info, I think that'd be great.
Yeah, I mean, I don't necessarily have any closing thoughts. I mean, I think, for the most part, maybe my closing thought is for anyone watching this that maybe is a potential buyer, I would say don't try to wait the market out because we just don't know what's going to happen. There's so many people on the fence right now that are just waiting and waiting and waiting for that interest rate to drop. But what's going to happen is as soon as that interest rate drops and all those people jump off the fence, you're going to be back in a bidding war, overpaying for a house that you could just buy now. And when the interest rates go lower, you just refinance.
Mhm.
That would be my advice to any of the potential buyers watching. And same with the sellers. It's like if you're in a position and you need to sell, it might be a little bit more challenging to sell right now, but don't try to play this game of time in the market because it's never going to work. You're not going to do it when the time's right in your life, buy or sell. But that's big for the buyers. It's like you're waiting it out to save a percent or half percent. When rates come back down to even 5, it's going to explode again. And you're going to be in bidding wars and you're going to be overpaying for houses. You're going to need big down payments. So yeah, that'd be my closing thought. If you are looking to connect with me, you can buy me or you can find me at chadbuysutah.com. So that's CHADVUYS Utah spelled out.com. That's my website. So yeah.
Awesome. Well, thanks, Chad. I really appreciate it. And folks, of course, if you have any thoughts or questions, comment below, like, share, and subscribe. And thanks again, Chad, for coming. We'll
Yeah,
see you
man.
next time.
Thanks for the opportunity. Take care.
Thanks.